Hello, this is Ben from AGFA, and today what we're looking at is the beginnings and introduction to blueprints. So I've got a scene set up here, which is based on the scene that we've got you all to make using the starter pack with the advanced village pack here. And so far what we've got you to do is to move these static meshes around the place. So just going here and just grabbing various things and just bringing them into the level. And this is all well and good. We know how to do that now. We know how to move and rotate and add physics to them. But what happens if we want to start combining things? I mean, we could do that just as I've done here, where I get the fish, the stick, and the thing here just to create a campfire. But then I've got to do that all again if I want to place this around. And I can't do anything really interesting with it. Like if my character walks on the fire, nothing happens. I can't eat the fish or anything else like that. So I'm kind of just, static meshes are just that. They are just static things. They are just something that is existing in the world. Now a blueprint on the other hand is more something like this. So this fire here is a blueprint whereby which if I walk over to it, now it sets on fire and I walk away from it and it disappears. This light here is a blueprint. When I get closer to it, the material changes there and a light comes on, and then when I walk away it goes away, which is different from this one. This one is just kind of there. So that's really, I guess, the difference between your static meshes and your blueprints. So let's look at, okay, how can we make these blueprints then? So let's just first go and we'll create one from scratch. So I've created a new folder here by right clicking down here, clicking new folder. I've named it blueprints. Here are some ones I've prepared earlier, but I'm just going to go ahead and I'll delete that one. And you'll notice when I delete it here, it says, well, if you delete this, you're going to lose all of these references here and everything. And I'm going to say, yep, that's fine, because I don't mind if those disappear. And we're instead going to just build them from scratch. So I'm going to go down here and go blueprint class. Now there's all these different classes here and you can pick all different ones, but we're just going to stick with actor, which is the main sort of overarching one and everything. And these other ones are more based on things like player controller or characters or AI. This one is just for a thing that's in the world. So we're going to be prompted to name it. I'm going to call it camp fire. I'm going to start with BP underscore campfire. You don't have to name it that way, but it's good just to have a naming convention, just so when I'm searching it, I know that this is a blueprint. So I'm going to double click on that, and it will bring up this window here. Cool. Now there's a number of different things just to break down here. First of all, this is the viewport. You move around in it exactly the same way you would move around the viewport in the 3D space in the main editor. We have the move, scale, widgets, snap tools, all the same things you would have there. On the right hand side here we have details, just like in the main editor. On the left hand side here we have our add component. So when we were talking there before, the components are basically all the things that go together to make this up. So this particle effect would be a component, this static mesh bowl here would be a component, the fish would be a component, and any collision boxes we want to have on those would be components. So we're just going to go and put those in now, arrange them here in the viewport, and then place it in the level. So I'm going to go here to add a component first. I'm just going to go with a static mesh. So I'm going to call this one log. And then over here on the right hand side it says, you know, there's no static mesh selected, so I can go down here and I can pick any static mesh in the content browser, and there's a lot. So it pays to sort of plan ahead and see what sort of static meshes you have. So anyway, I've got one log there. I'm actually going to add in another one now, and I'm going to call this one there we are. So I've got that one as well. And again, you can go all out on this one and make it as detailed as you want. Just one thing I wanted to demonstrate with this though, and that's the hierarchy that's here. So here on the left hand side we can see this log is connected to this one, which means when this moves, the other ones move. You may want that, you may not want that. If you don't want to have that happen, left click and drag on here, drag it onto there and go attach, and this will basically just make it so that when you move one it doesn't move the other. Anyway, that's enough for logs. I can come back and add more later. Now we're going to add in a particle system. So that is the fire. So any special effects that you see in a game, you know, sparks, smoke, any of those sorts of things, they're generally speaking a particle system. So I'm going to try and find so I'm going to go with this one that goes with the asset pack, just because it'll fit in a little bit more with the other assets. Cool, so that's good there. And now the last two things I'm going to put in here, one is going to be a light, and the other one is going to be a collision box. So go here, box, collision, and I want this to be large enough that my character can interact with it without having to be in the fire. Cool. So that is there. I'm now going to left click and drag this into the level, and this is important to do because you want to make sure that the sizing is right. So I can see here that that's decent enough. I could get really particular about it, but I think just for now that is fine. I generally speaking don't want to do this in the level though. I want to go back here into my static mesh inside of the blueprint component and change things there. That is the preferred way of doing it, because that way when I create it here, it changes all of them. So unless I want to make specific changes to one in particular, I generally do it here from the blueprint. So anyway, that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to delete that one out, and we've got a thing happening here. So that's, you know, pretty good, but now we want to make it so that when we collide, this particle effect turns on and that light turns on. So that's it, us done with all the ingredients. Now we're going to go over to the main recipe, which is here in the event graph. So to move around in this, we just simply right click and drag to move across and left and right and up and down, and we roll our mouse wheel up and down. So we're going to left click and drag to delete those. And now we're just going to click on this box here. Now we're not going to drag it out, but what we are going to do is click on it and go over here to the details panel. And we're going to go down here and see all of the events that we can start. So an event is basically a trigger for an event. So if you've probably heard of scripted events in games, this is what they mean when we talk about that. It's basically something happens to trigger an event to happen, and then it does a thing. In this case, it's going to switch on this point light here and activate this fire particle. So I'm just going to left click and drag that out here so it's not connected to that. But now if I click on the box and go on component begin overlap, we'll see this box here. So this here is called the executor line. This basically has to run through all the different nodes that we create. So if I left click and drag, I can now connect it in with other nodes. And we don't have any other nodes yet, so I'm just going to let it into the empty space, and I can search for all the possible things I can do with that. So I'm going to search for cast to third person character, this one right here. Because it's a third person character map, my character is a third person, so I'm casting to the third person blueprint. Now we'll talk later about how to change things within the third person blueprint, but just for now we just need to cast to it, and to understand that we can cast to any blueprint. So I also need to plug in this other actor into object here so it knows how to interpret this and what it is we're using this for. So when this collides with this campfire, something's going to happen. So I'm going to left click and drag out here and go activate. And the reason I'm going with activate is because it's a particle effect, we have to activate it, and that'll turn the fire on and off. So we can see here fire, so that's the fire that is right here in this one. That's going to activate it. And then I'm also going to switch, set intensity of the point light. Now you might be asking, okay, that's great, but how did you even know that these nodes existed? Well, if I go here to my fire and I go to detail, in fact I'm going to go back to the viewport, I can see that I've got a few different variables here that I can change, or parameters. So down here, for example, I could just go visible, on and off. But the thing I don't like about that is it just kind of cuts out, and that's not very realistic for a fire. If, however, I go activate, it's a slow in and out. So that's how I know that the activate trigger is there. Same with the point light. I could just go visible, on and off, but I'm actually going to go with intensity. So the intensity here is 5000. So I'm actually going to switch that to 0 to start with. And I'm going to switch the fire to auto activate off. And then I'm going to go back here, set the intensity to 5000 because that's what it was originally, and then compile. And then I'm going to go in, go up to that, and sure enough, fire starts and light turns on. Now I'm going to do all of that in reverse. I'm going to get my box collision, go down to my details, and instead of going begin overlap, I'm going to go end overlap. So basically when they leave this box, something's going to happen. I'm going to copy and paste that one across here, and then left click and drag out here, deactivate fire, and then across from here I'll just go set intensity of point light, and I'm going to leave that at 0. So now when I walk up to it, fire starts, light comes on, walk away, fire stops. And you see how it slowly stops there? That's what I meant by using the activate instead of the visibility. Otherwise it would have probably just turned off, and that's never what we want. Cool. Anyway, so that's just a very quick introduction to blueprints. In the next one we'll look at doing this street light here, and then later look at having, you know, ragdoll effects like this one here where your character respawns. Okay, so stay tuned and we'll catch you next time.